Good evening. I'd like to start off tonight with a prayer and a pledge. I'll lead the prayer and the pledge. For those who would like to participate, please do so. Most gracious Heavenly Father, we come and we ask you to strengthen this council tonight. Let us make the right decisions to move forward with the mission that we have at hand. And Father, we ask that you strengthen all of our workers and our citizens. And for those families who have lost a loved one, Father, just cover them with your blood. These things we ask in the mighty name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Councilmember Sylvia.
Present.
Councilmember Williams is absent. Councilmember Balls.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Bench.
Present.
Councilmember Ostache.
Present.
Councilmember Garcia.
Present.
Councilmember Flores. Absent. Councilmember Copeland.
Present.
Mayor Moore.
Present.
We have 7 members present, 2 absent.
Thank you. Again, good evening. This is a public meeting of the City Council. I'm asking the audience to remain from clapping, booing, and obnoxious behavior. Council members, please put your phones on silent. Audience, if you could oblige, I sure would appreciate you as well. Next best thing, I don't know where my phone is, so it's not in my purse, so it must be in my car, so, okay. Madam Clerk, do we have any announcements?
Yes, Mayor, I do. Yard waste pickup, it continues, and your collection day is on your regular trash day. Yard waste stickers are available in the city clerk's office during regular business hours. And the city splash park located in the Frank N. Anderson Celebration Park, the address is 1830 Fordney Street, is ready to kick off the 2023 summer season. The splash park will open on Saturday, May 27th, for daily fun from 11 o'clock a.m. to 7 o'clock p.m. Portable toilets will be available. However, due to limited staff, the bathrooms and changing areas will remain closed. And City Hall will be closed next Monday, May 29th, for the Memorial Day holiday. And Mayor, we have a proclamation on our agenda this evening, and it is declaring May 25th of 2023 as Theodore Ruthke Day.
I'd like to invite Sherry France and Ann Rutherford to the front podium, please. The proclamation will be read by Councilman Copeland.
Whereas Theodore Ruthke, a famous poet, was born May 25th, 1908, and died August 1st, 1963. And whereas Theodore's birthplace, 1805 Gratiot Avenue in the city of Saginaw, is maintained as a museum in his honor. And whereas Theodore attended the University of Michigan, earning AB and MA degrees, and briefly attended law school before entering Harvard University. The Great Depression caused Theodore to leave school. Theodore then taught English at several universities, including Lafayette College, Pennsylvania State University, Bennington College, and the University of Washington. Whereas Theodore also taught at Michigan State and East Lansing. During this period of time, he became a well-known poet and author. And whereas Theodore continued writing poetry and books, which resulted in receiving a Pulitzer Prize, 2 National Book Awards, and the Bulligan Prize, amongst many other honorable awards. And whereas Theodore's legacy remains strong in the city of Saginaw, his final resting place, as his remains are interred at Saginaw's Oakwood Cemetery. And whereas in April 2012, the United States Postal Service dedicated a postage stamp in honor of Theodore Ruthke, the Ruthke Forever Stamp. And whereas Theodore once was quoted as saying, "A lively, understandable spirit once entertained me. It will come again. Be still, wait." As we proudly honor this magnificent individual, we know the wait is over as he is before us and will continue to entertain us through his poetry and writings. Now, therefore, be it resolved, I, Brenda F. Moore, Mayor of the City of Saginaw, hereby proclaim May 25th, 2023, as Theodore Roethke Day in the City of Saginaw, and call upon all the citizens of this community to reflect on and honor the life of this brilliant individual. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Saginaw to be affixed this 22nd day of May in the year of our Lord 2023. Signed by Brenda F. Moore, Council members Annie Bench, Mayor Pro Tem, Michael D. Balls, George Copeland Jr., Michael Flores, Priscilla Garcia, Monique Lamar Sylvia, Bill Ostash, and Reggie Williams, Timothy Morales, City Manager. Congratulations.
Good to see you again. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Congrats. Thanks for coming.
Thank you, Annie. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Congratulations. Thank you for everything. Ladies, please have word. It is always an honor and a privilege to give this award out or this proclamation out to an individual who has done so much in our community.
Thank you. My name is Annie Ransford. I'm the founder of the Friends of Theodore Roethke Foundation. For 25 years, we have been committed to preserving, promoting, and protecting the literary legacy of Theodore Roethke, a Pulitzer Prize-winning poet and Saginaw native. We do this by preserving both his childhood home at 1805 Gratiot and the neighboring stone house where his uncle lived. We keep these spaces open for cultural and educational opportunities. Many of our foundation's resources today are dedicated to restoring the stone house. Thanks to recent grants from Hemlock Semiconductor, the Saginaw Community Foundation, the Michigan Humanities Council, we have come far since Roethke's birthday last year. Alex DePerry, one of our board members, supervised new plumbing and electric, and we are now turning to interior features, drywall and painting. Very soon it will be open to the community and double our space for writing and reading workshops, language camps, picnics and poetry slams, visiting artists and poets, new museum exhibits, and many, many more activities.
And my name is Sharon Francis. I'm the new president of the foundation. I echo Annie's words of thanks and gratitude for the grantors and major donors, but I also want to express our gratitude for all the individuals who have made donations, become members, attended events, and volunteered, from setting up poetry readings to weeding the garden in the backyard to swinging hammers over at the Stone House. The experiences we provide for children at our language camps, writing where a famous poet wrote and gazing from the same porch that inspired his poetry, and knowing that they too have the power to rise through language, is priceless. Sorry. While grants and major gifts keep our doors open, the community involvement keeps our hearts beating.
If you have not yet visited the houses, let's find a time for you to tour these historic homes. We would be glad to invite you in, show you around, and talk about Saginaw's connections to the poet and to poetry. We also invite you to participate as a volunteer and/or donor. If you visit our website at www.friendsofroethke.org or find us on Facebook or Friends of Rutke, at Friends of Rutke on Facebook. You can keep up with everything we are doing and everything that's going on. Again, thank you for helping us recognize Rutke's contribution to Saginaw's cultural and literary history, and we appreciate your continued support for this national project that serves Rutke's hometown. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk,
Mayor, we are now at public hearings.
the purpose of a public hearing is for the public to address council as a whole and for council to hear the comments from the speaker regarding a specific action being requested. Speakers must limit their remarks to the subject of the public hearing. Please state your name and say if you are in support or opposed of the subject of the public hearing. The main speaker or the designated representative should be the first speaker, and they're allowed 10 minutes. Every speaker after is allowed 3 minutes. This is not a question or answer period, so individuals, please do not direct any of your questions to any one specific council person. Madam Clerk.
Our first public hearing is regarding the fiscal year 2023-2024 proposed budget and property tax millage.
Is there anyone here to address this matter? Is there anyone here to address this matter? Protocol says I have to ask that 3 times. Is there anyone here to speak on this topic? Hearing none, I need a motion to close this public hearing.
So moved.
Second?
It's been moved and second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Madam Clerk.
Our second public hearing is regarding the Special Assessment District for a police and fire millage for fiscal year 2023-2024.
Do we have a representative to address this matter? Do we have a representative to address this matter? Last and final time. Do we have a representative to address this matter? Hearing none, I need a motion to close this public hearing.
So moved. Support.
It's been moved in support. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Madam Clerk.
Our third and final public hearing tonight is regarding the Downtown Development Authority District millage to be levied on properties within the district.
Is there anyone here to speak on this subject? Is there anyone here to speak on this subject? Last and final time. Is there anyone here to speak on this subject? I need a motion to close this public hearing.
So moved.
Second?
It's been moved in second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Madam Clerk.
Mayor, you are now at public input.
Once again, I'm asking that the speakers who come up to the podium, you'll be called by the clerk. And at that time, you will have 3 minutes. Please speak clearly. Cover your points in those 3 minutes. You will get a few seconds afterwards to complete your thoughts. Once again, I'm asking that we not have rude, obnoxious behavior, clapping, booing. None of that is allowed. This is a public hearing, and it is on WHG-TV. Thank you. Madam Clerk.
Our first speaker tonight is Rhonda Sanders.
Is Ms. Sanders in the house? Is Ms. Sanders in the hall?
All right, let's go on to Shushma Jones.
Hello, everybody.
Good evening.
No.
My name is Shushma
Hold
Jones.
on, which one is Shushma?
I'm Shushma.
Okay, she's the only one that can speak.
She's not speaking.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
My name is Shushma Jones, and I'm one of the owners of DNS Transportation Services, along with my mother, Dorothy Jones. We are a minority and woman-owned business started October 8th, 2019. If poverty is a disease that affects an entire community in the form of unemployment and violence, failing schools and broken homes, then we cannot just treat it in symptoms of isolation. DNS was built with the help of the Saginaw citizens. We are a licensed motor bus transit carrying 22 passenger seats. We provided a $5 rate and a VA veteran discount. And after the pandemic, we increased our rates to $10, along with another license for a non-medical transportation license to the state of Michigan. During and after the pandemic, DNS went through a hardship trying to stay open. We applied for several grants, Saginaw Future. We applied for MEDC loans. We applied for PPP loans. We wasn't awarded. We applied for Isabella Bank. We were denied all funds. Transportation is a high demand, and DNS had the spirit and the determination to address the needs of transportation throughout the Saginaw County. I understand that STARS pick up 3,500 passengers a day, and a grant was awarded $4 million for 10 buses. DNS is standing upon the city councils and asks if you guys can grant to us or help us with the lost revenue so we can reopen our business. That's basically it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Dawn Hinton.
Members of council, I stand here before you today to share with you a transformative project that has the potential to change lives of the young people in our beloved Saginaw. The Sankofa Project is a collaboration between a number of individuals across the city, and our goal is to create meaningful cultural and educational experiences for youth, providing them with a foundation for a brighter future. Now, the name of our project, Sankofa, holds deep cultural significance and serves as the driving force behind our endeavor. Sankofa, which originates from the Akan tribe in Ghana, symbolizes the quest for knowledge through critical examination. The Akan people believe that the wisdom of our past guides us in planning for our future. As most of you know, at the beginning of 2018, we started an ambitious plan where we were going to raise money to send 30 young people to Ghana. Right? We weren't going to leave them there. We're going to bring them back. But we're going to send 30 young people to Ghana from Saginaw on a life-changing journey to do a number of projects. But we all know what happened in 2020, right? We bought our plane tickets in January. In March, the pandemic was declared. We had to get our money back, right? Every year since then, we have been planning to go back to Ghana. Now, what happened is that we maintained contact with those young people who were going to travel with us because we knew we were going, and we have managed to keep in mind, this is 7 years, these are young people, many have gone off to college, many have gotten jobs, many have joined the military, managed to keep about 7 of them who have identified interest in continuing to go to Ghana. Not only are those 7 young people want to go, but we also have 18 additional folks who are going. So in July of this year, we are taking a delegation of 25 people from the city of Saginaw to a monochrome Ghana, who is our sister city that was created by this council or your predecessors. This crucial tour is going to encompass an exploration of the transatlantic slave trade, connecting our youth with their history, and instilling in them a renewed sense of purpose. Additionally, our tour is going to culminate in the implementation of an educational project at the Royal Seed Orphanage. Now, beyond the cultural and educational aspects, what we know is that travel is significantly important in the lives of people. However, what the data is telling us is that the folks who could really benefit from this are not the folks who are traveling. According to the U.S. Department of State, only 37% of Americans hold valid passports in 2021. In addition, the average American traveler is identified as a 45-year-old white man with a household income of $127,000, right? Now, we're taking young people from First Ward Community Center on this cultural tour to have this experience. So we don't overlook the potential consequences of missing out on what we do when we don't provide these experiences, right? The Department of State also suggests that these international experiences may result, the lack of them, oh, we going, y'all. So I just wanted to share with you
Real
that we are
quick, real quick.
excited, and I thank you for your support.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Shirley Jones Hammond.
Hello, everyone.
Hello?
I have a rental property on Hosmer Street, and with the corona going on for, 2 years, I have a water bill for $1,100 that I was not aware of. You guys are putting a lien on my property. I felt like if you guys did not let the people pay the water bill, you should have let the landlords let us know that they didn't have to pay the water bill, so we could have been prepared for this. I don't think it's fair for me to have to pay the water bill. I don't know where they're at. I don't have no clue or anything. If you wasn't gonna let them pay it for 2 years, well, mine was a little over 2 years, I think you guys should have sent out a letter and let us know or announced it at the meeting that we will be responsible for this bill. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Our next speaker is Rosemary Herring.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Hi, I'm here in response to your letter dated to me of April 26, in response to my complaint to you all, or actually to the engineering department, about my sidewalk out front of my house. I called complaining shortly after I moved in. I've only been a resident here for several months. I am disabled. I've had 9 spinal surgeries, 2 strokes, and I now have been diagnosed with lupus. My sidewalk, to quote your letter, is in disrepair, and it is. It is completely unsafe. I have retrieved photos off the internet. I've compiled a package for each one of you. The photos, first set dated 2012. There's an index for all the photos. Show the tree. It's a massive tree in the easement that the city owned. The city took it out, to quote my neighbor, in approximately 2018-19, because it was destroying his driveway and the sidewalk on his property, as well as property I just now purchased. That was 2 homeowners prior to me. You quoted your law of 2016 saying that the homeowner is responsible for the sidewalk. Now, if that's the case, you had 2 homeowners prior to me to go after for the state of disrepair of your infrastructure. Not mine. I do not own city property. This is the first time I've ever bought a home where I was considered owner of a free whatever you want to call it, rite of passage, where the free open to the community, where you want me to be responsible for it. Now, if that is your law, you should have taken it into effect and moved upon it when you took the tree out and you saw all the damage to the sidewalk. My neighbor was complaining back then, and that's why the tree was removed in 2018-19. Not waited 5 years later till a disabled woman moves into the property and calls you with concerns for her health and the health of all the patrons in the community going up and down the sidewalk, okay? I'm not responsible for your sidewalk. I'm very sorry that you have to incur your costs, and I've heard all these stories that the city doesn't have the money. Well, I don't have the money either. I'm on a fixed income. That's why I bought in Saginaw. I can't afford where I was living prior, okay? And I can't afford to fix your problems because of your neglect. You should have addressed your sidewalk, which was complained about, and you can see visually in the pictures in 2012.
I'm sorry. Motion
That's
to.
a decade
Sorry.
ago.
Motion to extend the speaker's time by 1 minute. Sorry.
Second.
The damage
Wait,
is
wait.
clearly visible in
Hold it.
2012.
I need you
We
to
have a
wait,
motion,
ma'am.
but-
I need you to wait.
We gotta vote on it.
If y'all give me a minute, I'm getting to it. It's a motion on the floor. It's been moved and second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Hold on 1 minute until she tells you you can start, ma'am.
Okay.
Good.
In the pictures, there's 3 sections. 2012, it says pre-existing condition of sidewalk. First group of photos. You can see the buckling at the end of my pathway from my entrance of my home, that it was filled with asphalt back then in 2012 because it was a trip hazard walking out my front doorstep. And then it's now filled with asphalt on both sides, the front and the front from the street and the front going into my house. And all cracks, seams of every pavement on each direction. You cannot walk down that sidewalk from one driveway to the other. It is completely like this. And out the entrance to my path from my home, you are met in a peak. It's ridiculous. And the engineer's response was to fill it with asphalt. It's still not even dry, the asphalt.
Thank you.
And they say in their letter to me, it's in disrepair.
Thank you.
I am not an engineer, and I am not responsible for this.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
The appropriate department will contact you, and the council will be waiting on an answer.
Okay.
To where we
Well,
can
please
try to
review
work
the
this
photos,
out.
because you can see the evidence is clearly there in 2012. It's
Got
over
it.
a decade old.
Right, we've got all your information, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Madam
Our
Clerk.
next speaker is Wendy Saunier.
One small note, under the
It's
topic.
Wendy, I'm sorry. Can I get you to pull that mic down so I can hear you, please? Thank you.
Yeah, okay,
Okay, I'm sorry.
that's all right. Under the topic, it's listed as 2110 Adams Boulevard, and it should be corrected to 2100 Adams Boulevard.
Okay, speak.
Don't want anybody else?
I mean, you're in
All right.
3 minutes.
Okay, actually, today, there were 2 very pleasant people at 2100 Adams Boulevard, and they really cleaned the place up, and it looks great, and that's first and foremost. The second thing, there is a handout of the garage, which is slowly deteriorating. I thought maybe pictures would do more than just yiping, so there they are. And picture says a million words, so I'll just be quiet. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Debbie Melconian.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
This is second time I've been to the council regarding 2100 Adams Boulevard. You should have gotten a packet of 10 photos with a note explaining each set. I believe the first 4 deals with the garage, which is on the verge of collapsing on Wendy's property, and so on and so forth. It shows the pool, which now the pool cover is submerged to the bottom of the pool. Then it shows the backyard full of trash, full of weeds, furniture that has blown over, so on and so forth. I have been in communication with Cassie Zimmerman, and her response basically was, we are doing what we can to work with the homeowner, and I believe they are. Another comment from Cassie was I wanted to share an update in response to the public comments on 2100 Adams Boulevard, and it goes on to explain the background of this property and what had been done 2 years ago, which basically nothing, and that they are working with the homeowner. I know it's not going to be cleaned up tomorrow. But we have to have something done due to mosquitoes, due to rodents, to the entrance into the backyard to that pool, which is black. I mean, the water is up to the top, and it's horribly infested, and that fence needs to be repaired. Wendy did bungee cord the fence back closed, and I just hope nobody goes through it and decides, well, they won't go for a swim because they couldn't get there. So I urge that, I know an inspector has been assigned to it, and I'm sure he or she have a gazillion of things to do, but we really, really need to stay on top of this property. And I know the homeowner is ready to sell the property, but it can't be done the way it is. And please stay on this topic. And I know Cassie's trying to do everything, but I wanted to let you know at this point, the front has been cleaned up. And it's funny, they come on the day of the council meeting, but at least the front is better. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our final speaker tonight is Danita Dorsey.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Danita Dorsey. This evening, I stand on behalf of Community Alliance for the People. And two community issues have been brought to our concern that we just wanted to put on the record before this council. The first being, a couple months ago, our city council put a moratorium on ARPA allocation of funds. And in lieu of the debt ceiling that is going on in DC, we would like to know, is the city of Saginaw in jeopardy of losing the allocation funds that was left? And if not, if those funds have been allocated, as a community, we would like to know where they have been allocated to, who made that decision and when. The second issue that I wanted to bring forth to the city council is it has been said that an influx of money has come into the city, allegedly in the amount of $3 million that is under CDBG funds, and that certain organizations, certain individuals were handpicked to apply for these funds, and that certain organizations have already began doing their proposals and pitches in front of the Human Planning Commission in regards to these funds. One of the groups in particular, they had a proposal that said the initial investment of the city of Saginaw, as they have designated Home American Rescue Plan funding to higher purpose, was in keeping with the designation that accompanied these funds. This is information that they put out maybe towards the end of last year, and this was before our city council had even began to allocate all the funds. So as the community, we would just like to know what was the process, if this is true, who made the decisions to contact certain organizations and individuals about the availability of these funds. If the information was made public, where and when. I know that the application is now on the CDBG funding website and that the application closed in January of 2023. But we just like some answers on what was the process of these funds that have come into the city, and how was certain individuals and organizations allowed to apply for these funds. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, we are now at council remarks.
And we'll begin tonight with Councilman Balls.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I don't have a lot to say today, but I am concerned about the water bill situation. You know, if people had to, if the city said they didn't have to pay their water bills and didn't tell the homeowners, and then all of a sudden, 2 years later, the homeowners get a bill, then I think we need to make these people whole and do something. City manager had to talk about that or something, because I don't think it's fair. I mean, you know, they stand in a place for 2 years and the landlord don't even know if they're paying a water bill or not. then all of a sudden they leave and they got a water bill. So I'm a landlord myself, and I would hate for that to happen to me. Other than that, I'm looking forward to hearing what Dave got to say about the ARPA funds, where they're going and all that stuff. So that'll be good for our city, so we can get this money out in our community, so we can make our community better and a safer place for everybody to live in. Me and Annie had the opportunity to, had the board meeting with the county, the city, and the school board to talk about some of the plans that they want to do for this summer. And I didn't bring the list. I hope Andy you can remember it, but they got a lot of things going on in the city of Saginaw for our youth to get involved in, to keep them off the streets, you know, and give them some fun and learning activities. So I'm looking forward to that happening here in the city of Saginaw. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Councilman Ostash.
Thanks, Mayor. Welcome, everybody, tonight, and to those watching at home. It's good to see a full chamber again. Just a few things. I had the opportunity to attend a training session over the weekend. It was Friday night, and most of all day Saturday with the Michigan Municipal League in Bay City. It was an excellent presentation. We did a lot of training on civility and collaboration, a lot of strategic coalition building, and one of the really interesting tracks that I thought was really well, and our mayor was there as well. It was good to see her there on the panel, but we talked about council manager relationships. And so it was just a lot of good data that was being provided to a lot of us council members from various municipalities throughout the state. Quick note about the May 13th Team Up to Cleanup that our mayor organized again and put on. It was an excellent event. Great turnout. Good to see everybody. Thank you for coming out and helping us clean up the city. It did start to sprinkle a little bit, and we were down cleaning up Potoff Park, but I was able to get out there this weekend and kind of finish that up. Also, Potoff Park, I don't know if that park is adopted, but I've talked about adopting a park before, and that park down there could use somebody to adopt it and just take care of it. But if not, I'll keep an eye on it. It's in my neighborhood. Also, again, attended the front porch roll call, so thank you to the Covenant Neighborhood Association that put that on. Thanks for the chief and the staff that do these. Again, great conversation with the residents. I was able to get some good information, and then there was some concerns that were raised. So it's always good to have these front porch roll calls. If you are interested in having one, contact the police chief, because you are able to kind of hear some things firsthand from the neighbors and get some results and maybe follow back with what you're hearing too, besides the information that we provide to the residents about all of our victim impact programs that we have and the stuff that the police force is doing as well. Another thing too, I just want to let people know, I've been talking about this at neighborhood association meetings. If you want to stay up and informed on what the city is doing, there's a city newsletter, and then also on the Saginaw Economic Development Corporation, the Saginaw Police Department, all of our press releases. Go to our city website. Right on the very front, there'll be an icon that says Stay Informed. Just click on that, and then you'll click into there'll be a menu that'll come up, and you can put all your information in there with your email address to stay up on what's going on in the city. And also, I saw something today. This is really an interesting thing that the Saginaw County Parks is going to be doing on June 6th, the 7th, and the 8th, from 10 a.m. till 2 p.m. in the morning. They're going to be doing rail trail golf cart rides for our seniors. And so they'll be providing seniors that have limited access or mobility issues, they are going to be doing that out there at the rail trail park that runs all the way to St. Charles. So, Mayor, that's all I have tonight, and thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Councilwoman Garcia.
She'll get it right one
looking.
day. She's
I'm
got
looking.
time. Okay, Garcia. Good evening, concerned citizens of the community. Thank you for coming out and supporting your concerns. We're here, you guys, and it's good just to see what's going on in the community. So we got some active people and we have some concerned people, and that's a good thing, because that way we know that there's a need that needs to be done or fixed. And how we can do it is if we hear your voices and your opinions and your feedback. So that's great. Just want to say congratulations to all our class of 2023 this week. I know a lot of graduations coming up, so that's awesome. All the young graduates, so excited for them, and even our college graduates. And also Memorial Day coming up. Just remember the cause of it, our loved ones who have made the ultimate sacrifice for us to be here, the brave. So yeah, just remember when you're enjoying the holiday and eating your hot dog, grubbing, that, that's the whole purpose of it. And then I'll be celebrating my dad's 67th birthday the day after, so that's a blessing for him just to still be here. He's been on life support 9 times, so I said, you're worse than a cat. You got a couple more there, but yeah. So, yep, just spending time with the loved ones, and then got some June activities coming up that I'll be partaking in. We have our senior picnic coming up with the Saginaw Commission on Aging. It's always a good time, and you can go with your parents if you are under the age of 60. They're gonna be celebrating their 50th anniversary, and so they usually have music, raffles, tons of vendors with great resources, information, networking. So it really is a good time from 10 to 1, and I will be there, like I said, and they do a lot of raffles and stuff. So if you have time, come check it out. It's really nice, and I know in the past they had walkers for the seniors because it is uneven grass and that, so you get time, come check that out. And then also the Men's Health Fair that's gonna be taking place, June 3rd from 10 to 2 at the Dow Event Center, and I'll be there as well, representing who I work for, DeLeone Medicare. So come out and have a good time, and you get to see me and get to talk, so that way I get to know you guys, because I want to know who I live around, you know, so. And then just make sure that you guys keep getting your votes in for the best yard, so. All right, not that mine is any great, don't go by my house, but, yeah. So, yep, just have a rest of a good night, and thanks for coming out.
Thank you. Next, we have Councilman Flores.
Thank you, Mayor. Happy birthday to Mr. Bobby DeLeon, a great activist in our city. I'm on Instagram, and I saw that there are 6 Michigan cities named amongst the 150 to live in, best places. Number 14 is Ann Arbor. Number 20 is Grand Rapids. Number 83 is Lansing. Number 90 is Kalamazoo. Number 114 is Detroit. And then 130 is Flint. So next year, we should be on that list. If Flint's on the list, we should be there. So we need to work together to figure out how to get on that list, and then other lists of places to best live in. We have the Cup coming up next year, right? And we have a bunch of different events and a bunch of people here today that are invested in the city to try to best figure out how to get us on that list. So that's our mission. I don't have too much else other than that. Thank you so much for the mayor to do the cleanup. It was a great event annually. Let's keep it up. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next, we have Councilman Copeland.
Good evening, everyone. Happy Monday. I was joking over there. I said it's been a long week already, and I remember it was only one day. So happy Monday to everyone. Thank you to our public speakers that have spent time sharing your heart. We have heard those, and our city staff will be able to respond. I also want to share, today was the homegoing of Mr. Adrian Smith, one of the pillar in our community, a barber, but more so a life coach. And it was amazing to see the city of Saginaw, those travel abroad to come and celebrate, and also to have city representation there to celebrate his life. I do want to share, Councilman Onset shared about the Team Up to Clean Up, which was an amazing event. It wasn't an opportunity for me. This was the first time to clean up the shores. I was out in the water cleaning up. Don't know if I'll do that again, but but I will say I do see the erosion issue that we have when it comes to I've heard the presentations, actually seeing it with my own eyes. I realized there were parts of the bank that I should not have been able to clean up, and I was able to clean it, and there was a lot of things there. But just thank you to our city staff that continues to work on that. I know that we had some conversations with allocations there, but thank you to our city staff that's working on that project, because I see now for myself how important that is for Jaboy Island. Finally, it is summertime. As Councilwoman Garcia shared, congratulations to all of our graduates. Prom was this weekend, and you all were sharp. Great outfit. You guys were sharp. But it is summertime. We do have summer camps. If you're interested in any athletic or STEM camps, Saginaw Valley has some summer camps going on right now. And we encourage you, once it gets hot, keep the children involved. I'm trying to find all of my children. I have a 2-month-old, but if she can get in something, we're going to find something for her. But keep our community involved. And as always, I'm constantly thankful for the success and the progress of our city, hearing our citizens and seeing what's going on. And that was the final thing I wanted to share. First Ward, this past week, my wife and I went to Houghton Jones. They have a dance class. And I thought it was going to be smooth, but that lady had me sweating. But I found out First Ward for our seniors, every Wednesday and every Friday, every Wednesday at 10 a.m., they have movies for our seniors, and every Friday they have bingo for our seniors. So there's something going on for everyone. Sometimes I had to realize it's not in my sphere of experience, but just step outside to see what you have access to and what is available in our community. Thank you for all those attending. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Councilwoman Sylvia.
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, I'd like to say thank you for all the public speakers. Hopefully, issues will be resolved. Also, I'd like to thank everyone for coming out and being a part of City Council today. That's all I have to say. You all have a blessed day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Councilman Williams.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everyone. My colleagues have pretty much said what I would have said, but I do want to add, with this being a holiday weekend coming up, the law enforcement side of me wants to talk about driving, and especially in the city. As we know, people, we have drunk driving, but what we have now too as well is we have people driving while high on marijuana. And we also have people that are high on marijuana, drunk driving, and texting at the same time. Please be cautious and conscious. I have been, in the last 2 weeks, almost ran off the road twice. And it's simply because, not by someone that was high or drunk, but texting. And we're not paying attention and just merging over into my lane and not realizing what they were doing. And I actually had to stop them, and we had to have a conversation. But we need to be cautious and conscious when we're driving, especially this weekend, because as you all know, Memorial Day weekend is notorious for accidents, vehicular accidents. So please pass the word on to your family and friends as well. Stay safe and be blessed. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Mayor Pro Tem Bench.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to start by thanking all of our public speakers for being here tonight. We have to defer to our staff with a lot of these things, as many of you know, but I want to acknowledge the frustration we heard here tonight, because it is a frustrating situation when you have irresponsible homeowners in your neighborhood or repairs that you're not able to have addressed in a timely fashion and things like that. So I certainly do understand. Ms. Hammond, I empathize with you as well. I know a few landlords who are in a similar situation, and unfortunately, the state of Michigan put that moratorium on water shutoffs. It wasn't the city of Saginaw. We had to comply with it. And we did extend that period for a little bit, but that was mainly because we wanted to make sure that everybody had fresh, clean running water in the midst of a pandemic. So I am sorry that you're dealing with that, but that was a decision made by the state of Michigan. The other things I wanted to mention, let's see. I had the opportunity to attend the mental health rally. It was the first annual mental health rally put on by Michigan United. And I just wanted to give a shout out to Charles Allen. It was a beautiful event, very well done. And like I said, first annual, so we can look forward to hearing more about the next one. Yes, that's it. And I want to extend my condolences to the Quintanilla family on the loss of their beloved grandmother and mother, Pita. I hope that you find comfort in the memories that you have of her and her long and well-lived life. I'd also remind my colleagues that the parade for Memorial Day is Monday, so those of you who are able to join, the parade starts at 11, we line up at 10. If you need more details, I'll text you guys and make sure you know everything that's going on. And on a personal note, I had a situation arise over the weekend, and it necessitated my filing a police report, unfortunately. But I just wanted to thank the chief, in particular Officer Dean, who came out and was very helpful to me and just very professional and sensitive. And I wanted to go further and thank Mr. Alan Rabideau, our blight guy, and Alex Shepard, I think it is, from Scenic, who were out doing their jobs and happened to find all of my missing property and returned it to me this afternoon. So we have many wonderful people working for the city of Saginaw. They will all tell you that they're just doing their job, and that is the point. They are just doing their job, and they're doing it well. And it was a really stressful set of circumstances for me, and I just cannot thank the city enough for their kindness and their professionalism. And I think I covered everything, so thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Last but not least, really. First of all, let me say this. On last Saturday, at, I'll say about 7:45, I was turned with my back to the road. And I turned around at 5 minutes to 8. And I had close to, if not 200 plus people standing on the grass. How about when we gonna start cleaning? I truly want to thank the citizens of Saginaw. We had over 300 volunteers. We cleaned the city. Now, get ready, because we're doing it again. But we're doing it in the fall. And when we do it in the fall, we plan to engage some lawn services and some tree cutters. Because come next May, when the Canadians come into Saginaw, Michigan, they gonna see a clean city. They are not gonna see a city where paper is everywhere, and we all gonna be on our best behavior. This week past was a busy, busy week. It started at 7:30 in the morning for me, and it ended at 9:30. But there was that many activities. People talk about we don't have anything to do in Saginaw. I don't know where you living, but where I live, we had a whole lot to do this weekend. We had the mental health rally, which was excellent. We had a lupus foundation program, which was excellent. We had a bike ride, which was excellent. No, I didn't ride no bike. I had surgery. So I can't, on my knee, so I can't ride a bike. But I need, for everyone that's listening, I need you to invest. I would love for everybody to invest in our city. My public speakers, if I was bewitched and I could twiddle my nose, I would make it right. But I can't. All I can do is depend on our staff to give us the answers that we need. I know that they're going to Africa. Would love to go. Got too much work to do at home. Charity starts at home and spreads abroad, but I will be donating. I think Councilman Copeland will be on that trip, so he can represent me. I'll help him. When we talk about the things going on in our city, Councilman Flores say, do for others. Listen, I tell the council, these other 8 people on each side of me, 4 on each side, find something constructive to do. You know, y'all got saved by the bell on that one. Madam Clerk.
Thank you.
Mayor, we are now at reports from the manager.
Our city manager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So first, I did want to mention, the Mayor Pro Tem did have it exactly right. The state of Michigan did not allow the city to turn off water for non-payment for at least a year during the pandemic, and in fact required us to turn water on for individuals who were off for non-payment. And then, as many of you recall, we did have several people contacting council members to get that time period extended for quite some time. So we have been catching up on that for quite a while. But I would also like to mention that anyone can look on the city's website and see the status of a water account. So if you are a landlord, I encourage you to do that. Also, landlords can complete paperwork in fiscal services so that they are not responsible for their tenant's water bill. So if you're a landlord, that's something you should definitely look into as well. You can contact the water billing department and fiscal services to find out the paperwork that you need to submit for that. And the Police Awards Memorial Ceremony was held last week on May 10th, and I wanted to congratulate Sergeant John Byerline, who is the 2023 Officer of the Year, and Brittany Jeffers, our Victim Services Division Coordinator, who is the 2023 Professional Staff of the Year. Councilman Balls did mention activities, and I know Mayor Pro Tem will talk more about this under committees and commissions, but the City County School Liaison Committee did work on putting together the Hot Times booklet, which has been, I think, over 10 years since we did have that. It's all automated this year, so our staff put together a QR code that can be scanned so that you can bring up all of the activities on their phone. I wanted to thank Calvin Murphy in our Technical Services Department and Jeff Klopsick, the director, for working on that and making time to do that, and also Vicki Davis and Rachel Hozeska in the manager's office worked on that project. The Team Up to Clean Up did have hundreds of volunteers, as the mayor said, and I think there is a lot more interest in doing that more often, especially with the Memorial Cup. We want to look at doing it, as the mayor said, this fall and next spring as well. So thanks to the mayor and Vicki and Rachel again for helping her plan that event and helping to get donations and volunteers. And also, finally, the last item I wanted to mention is we have the 2023 Distinguished Alumni Award winner, Mayor Brenda Moore from Delta College, received that on May 10th, so. Congratulations, Mayor.
You weren't supposed to know that. You weren't supposed to know that.
That's a great honor, and I know the mayor did go to the dinner and did comment on the impact that Delta College had on her and her education. So I think that's a great honor, Mayor, so congratulations.
Thank you.
And finally, I do want to thank our OMB Director, Yolanda Bland, and the staff that worked on completing the budget that council has before you tonight. It does take a lot of work from OMB and all the departments to put it together, and I think they're probably going to be starting the next one in about 6 months or less. So it turns over one after the other. And we do have a presentation this evening with all on ARPA. So David from Guidehouse is here to give our update. David?
Right. Hello, everyone.
Hello, David.
The first thing I want to cover is response to the question about the debt ceiling. So this is definitely on top of mind for me and all of my colleagues who are working on this. Our assessment at this point is it does have language in the current House bill that does claw back unobligated ARPA funds. It is unclear what that specifically means. The unobligated ARPA funds could be a variety of things. Within your agreement with the federal government, there is no ability within that agreement for them to claw back your funds. That being said, who knows what they could come up with. We're doing the best we can to interpret something that is not finalized. There are, if we were to understand ARPA as a bill, there are still significant funds that were passed through ARPA that are sitting at the federal level that they could claw back, right? But that haven't yet been dispersed to your local governments. So that's kind of how we're looking at it from that standpoint. And then in terms of what are we doing to make sure local governments are as covered as possible? Can I just finish?
No, point of information, what bill are you referencing?
Point of order.
Point of order. Can we let him finish?
He referenced a bill, point of information. What bill is that?
I do not know the number of it, and it's the current draft of it's the current draft sitting in the House regarding the debt ceiling. So I can send that to you after if you'd like.
Point of order. Before we go any further, please.
Yes.
Can the council please allow the mayor to recognize them before they start asking questions? Simply allow the mayor to recognize you, that's all.
Yeah, I
So,
agree.
in terms of how we're making sure our local governments are as protected as possible with the worst-case scenario, under ARPA regulations, they've got a very loose definition of what obligation even means. So, obligation could also mean an act by city council, and by that definition, you have made an action on the full amount of the funds. So we have in the portal, claim them all as obligated. So there's nothing on paper that says you have unobligated funds right now. So we have gone as far as we can to make sure you're protected if the worst-case scenario were to happen. That being said, as I stated before, I don't totally understand the legal basis with which the federal government could come to a recipient of the funds, the city of Saginaw, and claw back any of the dollars, regardless of their obligation status. Are there any questions?
Yes.
Thank you, Mayor. What's the preface of that warning or?
There was a comment at the top of the.
A question.
Yep, there was a question
During public input.
during public input. There was a question about the debt ceiling
Okay.
and how the debt ceiling negotiations were gonna play with the ARPA funds.
Mm-hmm.
That
And
was the
so we
question.
don't know until those are all settled.
Correct. Yep, just giving an update, trying to be responsive to the public comment.
All right, thank you.
Yep. All right?
Any other comments? Any other questions? Continue, please.
All right, so let's get into this really quickly here. So we're gonna go through a reminder of our reallocation timeline. We're gonna just do a quick update of where the projects are for the subrecipients. And then we've got Anna Colby here, who's going to walk you through the food feasibility study and talk about what next steps might look like for that. So, there we go. So we're here today. The idea here was we were gonna give a quick update, and then we were gonna look at that food feasibility study. Next time we will be back will be July 24th. At that time, we will give a more detailed project update. We will start discussions about any programs that might have red flags and need clawbacks. That'll be the beginning of that discussion. That won't be a final decision, but it's gonna be, hey, here are the programs we need to start really tracking and making sure we've got a good finger on the pulse on that before we get to the 25th. We will start the discussion on how we'd like to reallocate those funds so that we can start those discussions before we get to the 25th. And then, of course, we talked about the guidehouse cost projection and looking at what the subrecipient monitoring's looking like and knowing what our spend down is of the guidehouse not to exceed amount. Then between that and the 25th, as I said, we'll have close monitoring of those flag programs. And then sometime in mid-August, I would like to start a process of understanding where those reallocated funds would go. And so that we can make sure that we've got a set of priorities walking into the 25th, and we can have a productive period in the 25th and get those dollars reallocated so that we can get these projects up and running. So that takes us to the 25th, where we'd have those project updates. We'd have a real good sense of where is the risk on these projects, what does need to get clawed back. At that point, we will also have the update on YDC as we set that deadline there as well. And then we would vote on those additional clawbacks, or at least begin that process. But as I said, we're gonna wanna get this money back out the door for anything that does get clawed back at that point. And so we would vote on those reallocations. So that's kind of that timeline to get us to the 25th. Are there any questions on that timeline?
Any questions? Yes.
Yeah, I saw a representative, I wasn't here, but I saw a representative from YDC said they would have the information in 2 weeks. I saw that a month ago in the city council meeting. Have they showed up with the information since?
I have had no contact or communication.
Thank you.
Yep.
Councilman Flores.
Thank you, Mayor. Were the dates that are And the timeline, those are established by who or what?
So those are city council meetings, and these were previously set as the next time the Guidehouse would be here. This was done in purpose to ensure that Guidehouse wasn't here at every meeting, and that we were able to have key moments where we could have discussions around ARPA, and it wasn't something that had to be discussed at every single meeting.
But it's just every time that you would show up in front of city council, not
Exactly.
with the content of what we have.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Mr. David?
All right. So here is kind of where all of the projects are in the process. YDC is on hold, and as is DARS, which hopefully will have some action from City Council today so that we know exactly where to go on that. No agreement yet. These are organizations, we're still working on finishing this agreement. There are a variety of reasons for that, but MAC, Hoyt Park, Big Brothers Big Sisters, we have agreements signed with the NABE, First Ward, Women of Colors, Public Libraries, and we've actually got projects basically up and running with Yearn, CAC, Boys and Girls, and Houghton Jones. We actually had the privilege of going over to the Houghton Jones today before we came to the meeting and taking a look at their location and talking to them in person, being able to see what projects they're working on and what adjustments are going to need to be made. And it's great to see things in person so that when you have those conversations, you really understand what's going on the ground. And we intend to do that with any of these, specifically the ones that are going to be any physical capital investments made. So that's where we are with all of these projects. The one other one I want to point out here is Saginaw CAC. Now, you have a memo in front of you, and apologies, we meant to get this to you beforehand, but it is in front of you now. As I said in the beginning, if anything stepped outside of the original budget, we would bring it to you so that you had an opportunity to take action. Your lack of action means that we're moving forward. The question before you, or comment before you, is CIC had originally identified 820 South 20th Street as a renovation for homeless shelter. The location has been so dilapidated it cannot be repaired anymore, and actually is now a health hazard to CAC's work and their adjacent neighbors. The request is that we still move forward with that property, but instead we demolish it and remove it. That is what they would like to do with their budget allocation for this. So they still would like to spend the money in that property, but again, removal for safety, blight removal, and whatnot. So are there any questions on that?
Yes, Councilman Silver.
Thank you very much. Excuse me. When you talked about the updates, you failed to mention anything about the $5 million for the mental health center. So do you have any updates in regards to that?
I do not have any updates on the mental health center. And I'm focusing more on our subrecipient monitoring here, so they're not really subrecipients at this point. The project is in progress. Is there anything to add to that at this point?
We're still working with Saginaw County on how to best construct or work through putting the building together. So that's in progress.
Yeah, because when I get an update, I like to have an update of all the.
So if you flip to the end there's a large appendix with significant amount of information.
Okay.
And there is a line for each and every project, both city projects, subrecipients. You should see the mental health center in there as well.
Okay.
And you'll see it in both, because we did break it out by the revenue replacement group and the non-revenue replacement group. And of course, that was split. So you'll see a note next to that, that's 50% in each. But in progress, no red flags at this point. No reason for us to be concerned, but we will be looking at everything on the 24th for, if it's not on track and we've got concerns about getting done in time, about taking a look at that.
Okay, my next question, do you and your staff plan on visiting all projects or every place or recipient that received allocated monies from,
Yeah, I fully intend to do that. And for monitoring, if there's activities, we at least need to have proof that there are people showing up doing the activities. So we can't just look at the financials. We've got to say, well, are the kids there and did anyone see them? And have we taken some photos and documented that there are actually people teaching people or doing work with the community, so that's important. But of course, we will do that once everything's up and running, right?
And my final, I think, question for right now.
Yep.
I always have a lot of finals. In regards to CAC, so, can you just explain a little, the building needs to go.
Yep.
So are you saying some of the dollars they were awarded for that building, sort of re-award them, so to speak, to demolish the building and make it, this area safe?
Yep, it's a reallocation of
Okay.
existing funds, yep.
Okay,
And what
thank
you see there, just to be clear, since you didn't have a chance ahead of time, a quick summary at the top, a letter from the demolition company that confirms this is not, this building is past the line of no return, and a photo that illustrates it quite well.
Okay, thank you very much.
You got it.
Yes, Councilman Flores.
Thank you, Mayor. For the process for which you have signatures, how does that go?
Sure. So, once we have a signature, that means that we've agreed an outline of the budget. They've agreed to the legal terms that the city has laid out, and we are now moving forward with either advancing or reimbursing for existing costs. So a lot of the organizations right now that have not yet been advanced or been reimbursed have not yet delivered to us a request for advance or a list of reimbursements.
So for the process of signing the document?
Yep.
You get invited into an office, or you email it to
Oh,
them? They
yes, I
fax it
see.
back?
So, no, they come into the office and sign it here.
They're not able to do it at their own office, or to scan it in? It has to be here?
They come to the city manager's office and sign it.
Okay. And then also with the reimbursement, is that still an open issue? I thought we settled that issue.
No,
In terms
there's no
of-
issue.
There's no reimbursement?
There's no issue with reimbursement.
Okay, I thought you mentioned that. All right, thank you. And then also with, on kind of picking on Councilwoman Lamar Sylvia's question, there's $10 million for the mental health facility, right?
I believe that's a $5 million line item.
But in terms of matching, the report that you gave us this afternoon, there's $10 million, I'm sorry, that was given to us, right? In total, in progress.
So 50% is funded by the other bucket. So if you notice 1, 2, 3, 4 down, this is the revenue replacement, 2.5 million.
So,
And then 2.5 million, right, 3 lines down, 2.5 million.
so we had funded 5, right?
Yep,
And then the other investors are who?
I believe it is the county.
The county allocated $5 million.
So that'd be 10 total?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry, that's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
And then the other 10 is from, we're waiting on that?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know where you're going with that.
So we have, it's a $20 million project. We have 10 total?
No, I mean, there's more than one project down there. For our concern with this ARPA money, we're working with the county on potentially having the behavioral health clinic be part of a health department building or another educational building there. All that we'll be putting in is the 5 million. The county's 5 million, I believe, is for either health department or other medical education buildings. That's where we are right now with the funding. The other funding that we have guaranteed for the project is from Congressman Kilde's office for the preparation of the site. That's all the funds that are currently committed.
And we still need 5 total to actualize that. It's a $20 million.
We need 10.
Point of order.
Yes.
I got a question. The city of Saginaw is not building this project.
We're funding it.
We're
Point of
not funding the
information.
whole project.
Right.
We're not funding the whole project. Point blank, we're not funding the whole project.
Point of information, we're funding a quarter of it. And it's going to be within our jurisdiction.
I would be happy to follow up with a better understanding of the business plan for this project. So Why don't we do that?
Okay, and then last question, has there been any communication with the U.S. Treasury Department about concerns of this actually being economic development versus something that's more in line with what was originally in the final rules of the ARPA funds?
There are no concerns there from an eligibility standpoint.
After the developer came here and said that that's part of the issue?
There are no concerns from an eligibility
All
standpoint.
right, thank you so much.
You got it.
Yes.
I just want to make a comment, Mayor. Councilman Flores, in regards to the behavioral mental health, when I had spoke to them in the beginning, it was a $50 million project.
It's 20 now.
It's 20 now? Okay, so I'm unaware. Thanks. That's it.
I didn't tell you by the time they finished.
Inflation.
Yeah, right.
Do we need to make a motion to allow them to tear the building down, or just allow them to do?
Nope, nope, it's because there's nothing in your existing motion that would stop them from moving forward,
Okay,
but I'm giving the information in case you want to step in.
thank you.
You got it.
I'll just go back to the other question. I think you were asking about the advances. So we are doing advances and reimbursement, if it's requested by the organization.
Yes.
Thank you, Mayor. For every agreement?
Yes, they have to submit the request, and then it's vetted to make sure that they have to submit a list of expenses. If they're allowable expenses, then we'll do an advance.
Okay, all right, thank you.
I think we need to keep in mind, this is a general overview. When we did this in February, when the decisions were made to allocate this money in February, we said, or I should say, Councilman Williams put a motion on the table for 6 months. At 6 months, let's look again at them. And so that's what we're doing now. On here where it says, now this is my understanding, so correct me, Mr. David, if I'm wrong. The ones who have no agreements yet does not mean that they're not working on it. They just haven't come up with the appropriate information to give. We're not looking at taking anything back. We're just saying, this is where we are right now. This is how we're gonna proceed. And when we get to these dates that he had previous, we pray that they have started to work. The community kept saying, when is the money gonna come? And the money has started to come, and agencies who were awarded the money have not responded. Now what are we supposed to do, y'all? I just needed to say that, because I think that there's a lot of misconception with the very first stuff we did on the behavior health building. That had nothing, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the nonprofits, the agencies that we wanted to keep. What was it? The youth bill and re-education. Yes, 2.5 came from the community and 2.5 came from the city. At the same time, we didn't do this by ourselves. We're in this with the county, okay? And the county matched dollars. Does that make sense, Mike?
Yeah, it does, thank you.
Okay, because you say, talking about 20, I'm looking at him like, where we getting 20 million? Yes.
Thank you, Mayor. Are you talking to me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Well, I just like to say, I want to know about everything. I want to know about all the money that was asked for from the city of Saginaw. Now, the other stuff, that's a bonus if you can explain it. But I want to know everything, not just the youth. I want to know about every dollar that we allocated to whoever we allocated it to.
I think you got most of that.
And can you go into, and if you can, if it has to be, into detail why an agency is on hold? I know about the first one, but I never heard that the DARS was on hold.
Yep, there are two issues, and it will be dealt with later in terms of action. So the issue presented us with DARS is twofold. First of all, the original motion doesn't mention the fiduciary, which is a nonprofit. But DARS itself is not a nonprofit, and one of the conversations that happened much early in the process was that we wanted to make sure nonprofits were actually using the money. And so DARS is not a nonprofit, and so that is something we wanted to be aware of. And so we have action to either move forward but change the fiduciary, or say this is actually not the intent of the funds. We wanted it to go to a nonprofit, and therefore it would be something that would be put back in that pot to be reallocated at the end of the summer.
Okay, thank you very much.
You got it.
Did you answer?
Definitely did.
Okay.
Thank you much.
Please continue.
All right, with that, I'm gonna pass this off to Anna. Before she starts, I wanna just contextualize this for those who may not remember. The request was, we were gonna set aside, I believe, $2 million for food stability, and we wanted to do a feasibility study. We went ahead and contracted with Public Policy Associates, and they're out of Lansing, and they do have some expertise in this area. So Anna has done a low-level basic sustainability study that she's gonna walk you through now, and then we've got the opportunity to expand on that study in the future. For any questions about financials, this was simply added on as a subcontractor to the Guidehouse contract. So this did not go against the $2 million. This actually went against the Guidehouse not to exceed amount and is part of our contract. Great?
So before she starts, I think people are getting restless and they need to go. So I want people to exit, please, if they're ready to exit. So that we don't have, noise. Thank you, ladies, for coming.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to rise and make a comment.
This is not a question or an answer period, sir. I wish that you could, but you can talk to me afterwards.
All right.
Okay? If you don't mind, I'd love to talk to you.
I'll wait for you.
Oh, well, thank you so much, sir.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, council members, for having me today. As David mentioned, I'm Anna Colby. I'm with Public Policy Associates. Just so before I get into the food feasibility study, I'll tell you that Public Policy Associates, we are an evaluation, research, and strategic consultation firm that helps organizations make smart public policy decisions. So our clients include federal, state, and local governments, as well as foundations, nonprofit organizations, educational institutions. We work nationwide, but we do a lot of our work here in Michigan. So I work mostly in food systems. So I'm here with Public Policy Associates, but I wear a few different hats. I'm also an environmental commissioner in my township outside of Lansing, so have some experience in the public sector in that regard. I'm also, up until a few weeks ago, was a board member with the East Side Lansing Food Co-op. So we restarted that food co-op on the east side of Lansing, so not East Lansing, but the east side of Lansing. It's been operating now for about 6 months, so I still consult with that co-op. And what I'm sharing today is a feasibility study, and it was in response to your all's request for a feasibility study of a co-op grocery store. We did expand that to meet some of your, what we understood to be your other priorities. So this looks at brick and mortar grocery store opportunities to align with the city council's request, and then also ARPA funding goals. So before I get into the details of the findings, I want to make sure that we're all on the same page in terms of what some of the terms I'm going to be using, kind of how we define those, and let you know a little bit about the process of that. So as I mentioned, we looked at brick and mortar grocery options, the feasibility of that. We specifically looked at 3 options. So a food co-op being a member-owned grocery store that is established and collaboratively governed by members of the community. And then we looked at for-profit grocery store options, so privately owned grocery stores that operate for a profit. So this could be your Meijer or your Kroger or other independent grocers.
We also looked at low-profit, limited liability models, so those community benefit type of corporations. In particular, there's the Argus Farm Stop model, which is intended to support local farmers and increase access to local produce. And then we also looked at a nonprofit grocery store model. So in this report, we're focusing on a member-based, but not member-owned, so different than the co-op, charitable grocery store model. So specifically the food club model that has some momentum here in Saginaw, where families with low income pay a monthly fee and receive points with which to purchase food. So that is the scope of what we looked at. And with that, I'll say we spoke to a number of community members or community leaders on what is occurring in the city of Saginaw as so what some of the opportunities that are currently going on, as well as some others that have expertise in grocery retail. So what we found from this initial assessment is that, well, first of all, to answer the question about a food co-op, so that member-owned, is least likely to be feasible. So I guess there's a lot of words on there, but so a food co-op is least likely to be feasible. That is in large part due to there not being current momentum around a food co-op. With a member-owned grocery, you literally need the buy-in from the community. I think it's important to remember with any grocery retail models, for them to be successful, you need a committed operator and committed community members that want to shop at that store. So with a food co-op, the time it takes to build something collaboratively and to govern collaboratively, that timing is really out. It's unlikely to be feasible within the current timeline of the ARPA funds. A food club, so this is the member-based nonprofit grocery retail option, we found to be most likely to be feasible, given that there is, our understanding is that there is a committed, operator, a committed organization to operate and build up and start that food club, that there are community partners on board with that initiative. However, I'll say there are a number of unknowns in terms of the long-term sustainability of any nonprofit model that often relies on grants. I'm by no means saying that that's not sustainable. I'm saying that is unknown based on the focus of this feasibility study. And a for-profit grocery we found has medium feasibility with many remaining unknowns. Mainly being whether a for-profit grocer and operator is interested in moving into Saginaw. My understanding is there has not been a request for proposals or a call out to say, we have this funding, we have this opportunity. Are operators interested? There could be some that come out of the woodwork. Should that be an option in terms of there being funding to rehabilitate a building to start with startup of a grocery retail? So I think that is rated more as a medium feasibility because unlike a co-op or a nonprofit model, there is one owner, you can move maybe a little more quickly within the timeline of the ARPA funds. And then, let's see, where am I here? I'll point down. Oh, did I turn this off here? There we are. Oh, and I don't want to go on too long here. I realize I've talked a lot already, but I do also want to make the point of an alignment with your goals. So I heard 3 goals in terms of what you all are interested in doing in terms of food, grocery retail infrastructure in the city, and that is increase in food access, an increase in food security, and supporting healthy eating.
I think any of these models are going to, has the potential to increase food access or healthy food access within the city of Saginaw in terms of increasing food security and supporting healthy eating. A model like a nonprofit food club is most likely to hit those goals, being that a food club is geared to being affordable for lower income consumers, and depending on on how that is operated, there can also be wraparound services or other things that incentivize healthy eating or support healthy eating behaviors. So one of the recommendations that we have related to this study is to conduct a community input process around the grocery model. So from my understanding, there has been some, I'd say, larger community engagement in terms of what are the interests and the needs of the community around a grocery model. I think there is a real opportunity to engage the community, specifically potential customers and members, through a survey and a town hall specifically, or roundtables with residents. I think depending on where you all want to go, I mean, if, that could be specifically around some of the operating decisions around a food club, or that could be more broadly doing a request for proposals around, around seeking out potential applicants. I say this, and recognizing there is a time limit with these ARPA funds. So it could be extended more broadly to ask the community what particular grocery retail, they are most likely to want and use within the city. And I've also been asked to give you a sense for kind of what that extension of a project might look like or might cost. So this is an example, I have an estimated project cost up there. I'd say this is very large price range. I can only speak to what it would cost in terms of my own company and experience. And it really depends on what you all would want in terms of, doing further community engagement. I can provide an example project is that one of the projects I have a few years back worked on was community engagement and feasibility study of a community food club for residents in the Benton Harbor area. And I guess I'm just going to leave it there and open it up for questions, because I think, I've mentioned a lot, but I'd like to know what you all would like to know either about the study or the potential for additional community input.
Question. My concern is, I heard you say there's 3 different types of groups that were 3 different directions we could go.
Mm-hmm.
You ruled out 2, straight off. And so the other one is the co-op. But my biggest concern is I understand that we're in a food desert. I understand all of that. But I also understand we're under the clock for time. Mm-hmm. And that is why some of this couldn't work for us, is because of the timing. Am I right or wrong?
Some of this couldn't work for you because of the timing?
Right. If we had some more time.
I think, it is potential that there could be time to look at a for-profit, for-profits can move fairly quickly. I think in terms of a food co-op, yes, you're absolutely correct. A food co-op, I think it is very unlikely you have the time to move forward on that with the ARPA funds. Right. And the food club, which is the one that we found to be most feasible, there's considerable momentum and on that concept already. So a lot of, there's a committed operator or organization, there's a number of different partners, that plan is, my understanding is there are some other dedicated funding as well for that. So I think that is, given the timeline, what is most feasible, yes.
All right, Mr. Davis, you itching to get up there. What you want to tell me?
And I want to note, Councilmember Copeland has been very engaged with this process. And one of the things we did talk about is that An investment of the 2 million might be separate actually from an additional work on this report. And the report would allow you to have that information going forward as new funding might become available and understand better the realities in Saginaw, while potentially also moving forward with an investment with the current 2 million that you've got. So you can do both at the same time.
So we can hold, so you're telling me we can hold the money, do our studies, and we'll be all right. So when the end of the year comes, and we supposed to have this money allocated out, it's not gone. Where is it going?
No, I'm saying you can allocate the 2 million now to, say, the food club as something that came out of this initial report. And you could also say, we'd still like to expand the report because this information is valuable to city council as you move forward and there are maybe new opportunities around the bend.
Councilman Copeland, I need you to talk.
All right, I'm ready.
I need you to talk.
Thank you for your acknowledgement. One of the things that in our conversations that did come up is with the RFP, we know our citizens said they need a grocery store. I've been thankful to sit down, and Tina has shared what they are doing at the food club, which I think is still needed. I think in this conversation, it's and, not or. I think we can actually continue to work towards both of these while communicating. Because we still have this time allotment, we can still, our county has already donated money. We have 2 million set aside. I would encourage us as a council to move forward with the feasibility study, because even if we allocate these funds to the food study, to the food bank, we still have an opportunity to, after this deadline, if we get some for-profit grocer that would be interested in coming, we now have data to say, okay, this is what we want, this is what we need, and the conversations with explaining what the difference is, because I had questions for Tina, and she sent us all the FAQ of questions that a lot of our residents had. This additional process would be the opportunity for them to sit down, hear as well from our consultants what that will look like. But for me, I think it's not a food bank or grocer. I believe that it's a and. We can invest in this food bank, support our community, while at the same time continuing on with RFPs, continuing with the feasibility study, and from that point, having this report to us and partnering with, if we have anyone that bites, hey, cool. If we say we set aside $2 million, we allocate $1 million, and then we see that, $1 million may suffice for the food bank, and then we can take that $1 million and add more to our roofs or to our water heaters. We still have the opportunity as well. So I wouldn't say stop everything. I would say let's continue on having the conversation with the food bank. Let's continuing with this feasibility study so we can have the data to prove, because I believe we said this would be the first food feasibility we would have for the city of Saginaw, which would be needed.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any questions for me? I don't know.
No, no. Part of being a council person is doing just what I had you do.
Yes, ma'am.
You need to come back and tell us, because we need to buy into this. And for us to sit here and be blah, 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 we're not gonna do that anymore. So you answering the questions may have cleared up a lot of stuff that was in everybody's head. Because I'm steady trying to wrap my arms around it. But when you explained it, it's better, so.
And I do want to be clear that in these past couple of meetings during the committee reports, I've been sharing out just to make sure for today that all of the information and those who did the study would be able to share out, because I didn't want to share out and then there was confusion and I can't answer because I'm not the consultant. So, but I'm thankful that you give me the opportunity to share out.
Yes. You've been meeting with these people and you want me to make a decision and I just met her today? Okay, so, Councilman Flores.
Thank you, Mayor. So with this study, it was a short study, was there any nonprofits in the area that had either expertise in the food club, or were there any for-profits that you talked with that would be interested in doing like a brick and mortar or construction on?
That's a great question, and I did not have the opportunity to talk to any for-profits. Directly. So I think that is, that really is a question in terms of are there operators interested? In terms of the food club, I did talk to Tina Swanton about the food club concept, and then I spoke with the FACS group, so the Food Access Collaboration Team of Saginaw. So to get a better understanding, it's my understanding that there's a number of organizations and partners that are interested in partnering with Tina and her organization for the food club that are part of that FACS food access team.
And then also, it's not traditional that we do a nonprofit food club. It'd be great to have that, like Councilman Copeland had said, on the heels of a for-profit. How much would it cost to get a hold of a for-profit? Just the 30 to 80,000?
Well, I think there's a number of different ways that you all could go about in engaging. I mean, there could be some different targeted conversations in terms of you all or other folks in the community may know what independent grocers may be interested in moving into the city, or they're kind of your normal, regular chain grocers, a Kroger and Meijer, where there could be some targeted conversations. I think another opportunity is to put out an RFP that says, this is the type of funding that we have as a city to invest in, or these are the types of incentives as a city that we're able to bring in to incentivize a for-profit grocer to come into the store, and then get a sense for what operators may be interested. I will say, from talking to some community leaders, I think there were some questions whether the community wanted a for-profit grocer, and whether there was some potential distrust in a for-profit grocer coming in, and would they come in and then would they leave? I don't know the extent of that as a potential issue, as that was outside of the scope of, I think we've identified some areas where there could be some challenges on both ends of that, the producer, the community and the operator. But kind of how big of a challenge that is, I think that's one of the reasons we're suggesting doing more of a community input process. I also would like to add that in terms of the food club, and I am not obviously directly involved with that, but I will say from my experience working with other food clubs is there are a lot of decisions, and your day-to-day operating decisions. What is your product mix? What hours are you open? Where are you located? What does that point system look like that can really benefit from community input as well, that doesn't necessarily slow down the process. Now, whether that is needed or not, I think that is, a discussion that would need to involve the folks that are, building that food club. But that is, the type of community input that can help something hit the ground successfully and sustain into the future.
Thank you.
Just 1 minute. Councilwoman Sylvia.
Thank you so much. Two questions.
Yes.
One, it was a couple of different entities or persons that put in proposals for ARPA dollars regarding grocery stores, et cetera. I'm wondering if you reached out to them at all. And the other part is, maybe a month ago, and my timing could be a little off, we did have someone come, I can't remember, I don't have the information, that is actually opening a grocery store in the city on Hess and Genesee. I don't know if you were aware of that, and have you spoken maybe with them?
Great question. So to answer your second question first, and actually now see if I can remember what the first question was. Your second question first about the grocery store opening, I am aware of that. I have not spoken with them, as it sounds, I guess my understanding is that this is a potential investment to rehab a building, and that if a grocer was already planning to move in, that's wonderful, but perhaps they don't need their plans were underway. So it's not necessarily somebody that needed to be incentivized to come into the space. And then, I'm sorry, what was your first question?
The first question was that there are entities and/or persons that did a proposal for ARPA dollars that had to do with grocery stores, feasibility, et cetera, et cetera. Have you reached out to those persons?
Yes, thank you. So as I've mentioned, I did speak with Tina Swanton with the food club. The other grocery store, it's my understanding that they were proposing to be somewhere outside of the city of Saginaw. So I did not speak with them given that information. And then I did read through all of the concepts that were provided related to food, and the other ones did not fit within a grocery retail frame. I think there were some, and not saying they weren't worthy things necessarily to fund, but they were not brick and mortar grocery retail.
Councilwoman Sylvia, that young lady was from Buena Vista. That's where she wanted to put it. It was Genesee and, what is it? Where the old Kroger's used to be. That's where she wanted to go back to. Yes, sir.
And this question is not for you, it's for David. I can't read, yeah, I'm sorry. But for clarification purposes, I was under the understanding that today was an update that would not include voting, and then our next meeting at that 6-month period, we would be able to start moving that money.
You could do it either way.
Okay.
It's up to you. Since this isn't a reallocation of funds, you
Right.
set aside $2 million for food
It is.
stability. You're free to spend that money as you see fit, when you see fit. And so we can have a discussion about how you'd like to do that. You can move forward right now. You could wait till the 24th. And then regarding, an expansion of the study, you could move forward today, and we can continue doing with what we've already done, which is for administrative ease, include it with the existing subrecipient, subcontract with Guidehouse. And then we just kind of see where that ends up on the back end with Guidehouse's contract, but we could get this going immediately. Does that answer that?
No, that answers my question, and I want to share out with council that my purpose for today's meeting to share out with my colleagues was for dialogue purposes only, not to make discussions. The purpose of this presentation was only for dialogue, to get an understanding. Once we return, I will communicate, and my hope is to communicate with city staff to make a motion, so it won't be a surprise, but you all will be notified where that motion is. So today, I have no motion to actually move anything. The purpose of today's was solely for dialogue, for understanding.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thanks, Mayor. Thanks for the presentation, a great presentation too. I have recently spoke to Tina as well, and Tina provided me a pamphlet on the food club because, of course, I'm familiar with for-profit, and I'm familiar with a food co-op because I've actually shopped in one in Mount Pleasant before, but I was not aware of this. And when I'm a numbers guy, so when I saw some of the numbers on here, that's what really got my interest. So just for the folks that are watching and the folks in the chamber, like $13 a month can get you about $120 worth of food. When I saw that, that was huge. And also for the fact, talking that it serves people that fall, 200% below the poverty line. So you're talking a family of 54K or less. And so I thank you, Tina, for providing this, and I don't know if you have any pamphlets with you, or can provide them to the council members as well, because this was a really good read, so thank you. Yeah.
Any other questions? Moving right along, Mr. David. Thank you so much, young lady.
Thank you.
Thank
Yep.
you.
Thank you.
I'm all done, unless you have any other questions.
Shut up, drop that ball, I'm on that. Y'all come out.
Exit stage left.
Are there any other questions that we have of Guidehouse at this time?
I do want to be responsive to Monique, so next time we will have a detailed breakdown on every project, as that will be the purpose of that meeting, to make sure that we really are, I'll be ranking, these are the high-risk things to look at. We'll have less detail on the projects that are, rolling. because those won't be the focus of that discussion, okay?
Thank you so much. Sounds good to me.
You got it, all right?
Anybody else? I have a question for city manager.
Thank you, David. Yes.
So if we're doing this at the next meeting on the 25th, the next time he comes, we should ask some answers about some stuff that we did previously, where they are too. I guess David can answer either one of you.
Yeah, that's the.
Like stuff that we did in the very beginning.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
the housing commission and all of them. Stuff should be rolling.
Should be, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, when I say updates, I mean every single ARPA project.
That's what I'm talking
because-
about, okay.
Because the clawback discussion will have to be universal.
Okay.
Because of those timelines.
Right, so if they're not doing what they're supposed to do, you said, you've heard it on TV. We got to pull it back. Yes,
I
sir.
do have one more question. The term clawback, I think it's a semantics thing for me. Is that the term? Like, that's what we call it, clawback?
Yeah, clawing back funds.
Could we call it something else? I mean, yeah, you know, it's solely, my only mindset.
Freebie.
ARPA is a very touchy conversation.
Yeah.
We've been in this for a couple
Yeah.
of years and just, it's at ease, because the reality is we know it's clawing back, but really just, yeah, that's.
We'll have a creative brainstorming session about that tomorrow morning over coffee, and we will come up with a better, softer term for you.
I mean, hopefully it won't take a week to do that. It may cost us more money.
I'm about to say. It was requested, on the record.
Okay. Are there any more questions? Yes.
Yeah, Mayor, can we do that request for free, please?
What? Yeah. It's pro bono for you,
What?
Mr. Flores.
On record,
I
thank you
didn't
so
hear
much,
what he
David.
said. What did he say?
Do it for free.
You did it for free.
You know what? If we
Backlog.
really get honest, some of these phone calls that you've been making, they've been free. Some people have been making phone calls to Guide House. You don't have to say it. Trust me, I know. And they have been free conversations, so please don't think that everything that they're doing, they're getting paid for. Because some stuff, just like he said, with this feasibility study, it didn't touch our 2 million. It came from them. Remember, we're about collaborating, and collaborating means we work together. Whatever any means necessary, we try to get the job done. Right or wrong, Mr. David?
I'm gonna let you have that with Mayor, but we paying this man, okay? We paying him for everything he do. Every time we call him, it don't like he gonna put us on the clock for that day, but he getting paid. Am I right, sir? All right.
We're paid, but not that way. So, any other questions? Thank you so much. I'm sorry.
I don't have a question, I have a comment. David, I just want to publicly acknowledge, I really appreciate your positive evolution in your public presentations and also your engagement skills. To see the maturation over this, however, year, 2 years, whatnot, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes.
Thank you, Mayor. Would that conclude management reports or just that presentation?
I'm done too, just like David.
Okay, I would have a question for management then, if that's available.
I'm waiting on you.
All right, thanks. So with the budget, although there wasn't any folks that came to either comment or defend their position, is that just, we're gonna pass that today? Because there's some,
Let me correct you. That wasn't the budget. But when you look, you must be talking about when we first started and we had the three public hearings. Is that what you're talking about?
Correct.
Is that what he's talking about?
but if we're on the matter of the budget, that's to be passed today?
Yes.
Correct.
Yes.
So I just had some questions before we did pass it. That's all. So with the last union that has to settle a contract, is there a matter for which we can, if we were to pass this budget, would that restrict them in their arbitration?
No. No, right now, they're being paid as to their current contract, so that is going to 312 arbitration. When that does get settled, we'll have to come back with a budget adjustment for you to allocate the funds to pay for that.
Okay, so that's flexible.
Yes.
They wouldn't go to arbitration after we settled the budget and they said that they can't get the increases that they're asking for.
Right. The arbitration is not dependent upon this current budget.
All right, thank you. That's it.
Any other questions? Mr. Manager?
That concludes the management update.
Thank you so much, Madam Clerk.
Mayor, we are at consent agenda.
The agenda has been available at City Hall and on the city webpage and on SGTV Channel 191. I need a motion to approve the consent agenda, leaving room for exceptions.
So moved.
Second.
Do we have any exceptions? What are you saying?
Thank you, Mayor. Number 9?
Is there any more exceptions? I've got a motion on the floor. It's been moved in second. All those in favor? Leaving room for exception for number 9. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Aye.
Nay.
I'm not opposing. Signify by saying aye, so it's passed. Madam Clerk.
Item number 9, approve the purchase with Magnum K9 for $13,500 for a police K9 for the police department, patrol services K9 unit. That was Councilmember Flores.
Thank you.
Okay, so I don't know who do the bow wow. So is that Chief?
Let's see what the.
What's the question?
What question?
Yeah.
Oh,
Let him ask.
yes.
Thank you, Mayor. So I understand there's a retirement, and then this is the need for the new K-9 officer?
Correct. Segan retired last Friday, so this is the new dog to replace Segan.
Okay. And with this contract, I know last year we had kind of a falling out with our last K-9 handler. So that's
Not a canine handler.
K-9 provider?
We used to use a different organization to do our donations for the dogs. Now we go through the Saginaw Community Foundation. This dog is actually going to be purchased with some grant money from the Saginaw appropriation. No city funds or donated funds whatsoever.
Can we get like 3 dogs then?
No, just the
All
one.
right, let's just get the one.
Yes.
So why did this come to us if you donated funds? Is all
Everything the city purchases got to come to the city for purchase. Anything over $2,000. You can get rid of that if you'd like. I love it. It'd make my life a lot easier. I'll speak for all the other department heads and the city manager.
Thank you so much. That's my only question. Thank you.
How many, we'll still have, how many canines?
We are still, right now we have 4 dogs,
Yeah.
and this will put us back to 5.
Perfect.
There are 4 dogs that work 24/7 on the road, and then 1 dog is a bomb dog that is at Covenant Hospital, that was
All right.
purchased by Covenant Hospital.
Thank you so much. That's a quick turnaround for retirement and then
Hey,
recruitment.
we move quick.
There you go. Very good. Thank you so much. I motion to approve item number 9.
Second.
It's been moved in second. Any more discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Nay.
Mayor, we are at board, commission, and committee reports.
Does anyone have anything that they would like to report from any boards or commission in the community?
What do you want to say?
Yes.
As the city manager had mentioned, the city-county school liaison meeting did occur last week, and we did go live with the link, correct?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow, okay. So that link is going to be live with an alert on the city website. When you come and arrive at the city website, there'll be a flashing alert letting you know that the Hot Times in the City is available on the city website. We're going to work with the county and the school district to make sure that they have the barcode available on their websites, and it'll just reroute us back to the city website. But it's our website, saginaw-mi.com/hot times. The office has been generous enough to print some of the bigger documents, and they're going to be printing them 4 per page. We're gonna be able to have some of those available to hand out at the parade, and if any of the council members are going to any events, where it would be appropriate to hand those out, just get with the city manager's office and, make sure that they know and they can print some of those out for you. There's a lot of stuff going on in Saginaw, and we're just hoping that having the Hot Times in the City back in a digital version will kind of help dispel the idea that there's nothing to do here, because there's plenty to do. I think we don't always all know about everything that's going on, so I'm just really excited about that. I think that's all I have. Thank you.
Any other reports? Madam Clerk?
Mayor, we're at appointment of board, commission, committee members.
I need a motion to approve, I'm sorry, I need a motion to approve all 9 board appointments, leaving room for exceptions.
10.
10.
10.
10.
So approved?
It's been, I need a second.
I'll second.
There you go.
Any exceptions? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Madam Clerk?
We are now at resolutions. Our first one is approving the fiscal year 2023-2024 budget.
I need a motion to adopt.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Point of
Nay.
information? Are there question periods?
You have to ask for discussion before a vote.
Let's go back, I'm sorry, I apologize. It's been moved in second, opening the floor for discussion. Open the floor for discussion. You wanted me to open it up?
Wait, there was a
Flores, do you have
miscommunication
question?
upon us. No, I'm sorry. I thought Councilman Copeland had one, but no, I'm good.
But you do need to ask for discussion, Mayor, just a reminder.
No, that's fine,
Friendly reminder there.
that's fine. Hearing no discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Madam Clerk?
Second resolution is to approve the amount for the fiscal year 2023-2024 public safety millage.
I need a motion to adopt.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes. Is this for the millage for everybody to pay in this for certain areas, or like a police at the Covenant or something, or what?
No, this is our public safety millage, which funds police and firefighters in the city. A total of how many, Ms.
There's
Bland?
a total of 30 individuals that are paid out of this fund.
Okay. Okay. All right, thank you.
Any more discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Madam Clerk?
Our third resolution is approving the request of the Downtown Development Authority to levy a 2 mil tax on all real and tangible personal property not exempt by law and as finally equalized in the Downtown Development District for fiscal year 2024.
I need a motion to adopt.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay.
Our fourth resolution is approving to apply for the Protecting Michigan Pension Grant.
Yes.
I need a motion to adopt.
You can move that one. I move that one.
Second.
It's been moved in second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Madam Clerk,
We are now at miscellaneous business.
are there any motions that need to be on floor? Yes, Councilwoman.
Okay, I'd like to know, if we could, or has it ever been where we could have a minute clock where people could see their time? I think that, when you visibly see how many minutes and or seconds you have left, you're more apt to finish up your information. So, I'd like to know,
Motion.
Do you want to make a motion that we investigate
do
that?
I, yes, motion, investigate.
Second.
Thank you, I don't know.
There's a motion on the floor to investigate or to look into getting a time clock to sit on the table, and it's been moved in second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay.
And another thing, and I have been thinking about it before, but, Chief Roof made me think about it again. I would like to know if we can motion to look into upping the $2,000 minimum. I just think we could look into it. $2,000 is not an awful lot of money. So I would like to make a motion that we look into possibly upping that $2,000.
That's a charter provision.
Okay.
So
we
in
look
order
into the
to increase that, it has to go to a vote of the people. We have done that before. I can't remember the last time, but it did fail. So in order to do that, council would have to vote to put a charter amendment? Charter amendment on the ballot, and then we'd have to draft the question and then send it to the Attorney General for review. So if you want more information on that, you can do that too.
Okay, I would definitely make it. Yes, thank you.
Okay, I'm lost. So is your motion now to look into that,
That
or?
would definitely be the motion, to look into that.
Second.
It's been moved in second. Any discussion?
Yeah,
Yes.
thank you. It's my understanding that if we do two-thirds of the vote on council, that we can do a charter amendment. Is that
No.
not true? Okay,
Not on charter.
all right, thank you. All right, thank you so much.
We can get you information on the last charter amendments we did send out and how the votes went as well, just for your information.
That'll be helpful, thank you.
Thank you.
Actually, Manager, if I may, it's at the front of the charter.
Okay.
So they all have a copy of the charter, so if you look at the charter at the front, you'll see history of the changes and the
Amendments.
proposals and like.
Okay, thank you.
The clerk was looking for clarification. Did you get your clarification on that last motion?
I did. Thank you.
Yeah. Wait, Madam Clerk, do we have a motion on the floor?
We do.
I thought we did.
Questions?
It's still under discussion.
Any questions?
You had a question? We've got a motion on the floor.
Yeah, that's fine. I do have a question, but
No. If you got a question,
I guess I'm just wondering if the motion's necessary, if we have this information available to us in the charter. I just, you know. Well, I'm trying to gain clarity on what we're directing staff to do, I guess. That's what my
I
question is.
believe the motion that's before you is to look into proposal language regarding the purchasing agreement within the charter.
Okay, all right, thank you.
it's been moved in second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay.
Nay.
Okay.
You need a roll call?
Pardon me?
We need a roll call?
Did we say we had a nay?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't hear that one. Roll call vote.
Councilmember Ostache.
Yes.
Councilmember Garcia.
Yes.
Councilmember Flores.
Yes.
Councilmember Copeland.
Yes.
Councilmember Sylvia.
Yes.
Councilmember Williams.
Yes.
Councilmember Balls.
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Bench.
Yes.
Mayor Moore.
Yes.
We have 8 yes, 1 no. Your motion is approved.
Yes.
To Councilwoman Sylvia's recommendation, can we make a motion just to install a clock? Or does that have to be investigated?
If we can find one, and we'll install it.
Okay, so that's, by next meeting, maybe we could?
If it's less than $2,000.
If the clock is 2,000, we all want it. Yes.
There's a local shoe store here in the city of Saginaw that sells safety shoes and stuff like that. And I would like to make a motion that we give them an opportunity to have a voucher for our water department or whoever buys shoes. The guy told me that he didn't have, they don't have a voucher for him, but they got it for stores out in the township and all that kind of stuff. You know, we don't support the city. You know, how can we keep the city open? I mean, this guy paying taxes and he got a nice business over on Mason Street to sell work shoes, and I go there and I think our employees should be able to,
He's a vendor.
he's a vendor?
30 years.
Well, he told me he was not a vendor. He told me that he came down here to see if they had a voucher, and they didn't have a voucher, nothing for some of the people that came down there. So maybe we need to check into that, to let him know that he is.
I've got shoes from him before.
Okay, well, I'll check into it again.
Second.
Pro Tem Bench had been waiting.
He made a motion and now there's a
Oh,
second.
you want to make a motion? Did anybody
He made a
second it?
motion.
Yes.
He made a motion. Michael Flores seconded it.
It's been moved to second. Any more discussion? Yes.
I'm a little, I won't say that. If he's already a vendor and he is thinking that maybe he's not,
Why are we voting?
why are we voting?
Because he said he wasn't.
He might have forgot.
Well, and can I ask for clarification as to what the motion is? Because I'm a little concerned it's creating something that might go outside the scope of our own purchasing ordinance.
I understand it, to approve voucher to buy work shoes at a store, or for employees to buy work shoes at a store in the city. I don't know what store, I don't know where, I don't know.
Hey, long as we know about it, we will get this straight. The chief said that they do it, so I'm gonna find out for sure.
But
You have a motion before you now, and you're in discussion, so. I would agree with Attorney Lusk that this is, you're picking out a city business, which could violate the purchasing ordinance.
So it's a motion on the floor. It's been moved in second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Well, Mayor, I think they want some more discussion. Don't take their discussion away, please.
Yes.
I'm wondering from what I'm hearing, that if, I mean, I know we could, vote it down, but I don't necessarily like to do that. I don't necessarily like to do that. But my thing will be, is it, I know it's a motion, and I need to have a clarification that, can it be amended or set aside to later? You know, I don't wanna, can we,
It could be postponed
can we
indefinitely.
postpone it? Yeah, I don't like.
Vote it down,
people
that's
down.
nice and clean.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman Flores.
Never mind. Thank you.
Councilman Flores, did he say?
I was gonna, transparency, I was gonna motion to postpone, but I think if we just, we vote, so thank you, but I'm not gonna motion that, thank you.
Come on, guys.
Yes.
Real quick, Attorney Lusk, thank you for that comment. That's where my mind went when we were singling out a business, so thanks for the clarification.
Now can we vote? Any more discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed signify by saying nay.
Nay.
Roll call.
Somebody said yes.
Did nobody say yes?
I didn't think anybody did. It got voted down.
Nobody did.
When someone says nay, you need a roll call vote, and that's.
Oh, okay,
rules
yep.
No, I've never
All
seen
those
that
in-
before,
all
but
those opposed, same sign, which is why we say aye.
thank you so much, Madam Pro Tem.
Councilmember Garcia.
Roll call vote, please.
That just made sense to me right now. I didn't-
Councilmember Garcia. Nay. Councilmember Flores.
Nay.
Councilmember Copeland. Councilmember Sylvia.
No,
Councilmember Williams.
Nay.
Councilmember Balls.
Nay.
Mayor Pro Tem Bench.
Nay.
Councilmember Ostache.
Nay.
Mayor Moore.
Nay.
denied.
Councilwoman, I'm sorry, Mayor Pro Tem Bench had something she wanted to say, and we kept going back and forth.
Yes, I have a motion I'd like to make to address the DARS situation. I'd like to make a motion to rescind the ARPA allocation resolutions for DARS Learning Center in the amount of $275,000.
I'll second it.
It's been moved to second. Any discussion? Yes.
Thank you, Mayor. Was there any communication or understanding of why that was still held up?
I think earlier in the conversation, Mr. David indicated that they were for profit, and we indicated that we were going for nonprofit, and so it was either rescind or, what was the other one?
This goes back to David's presentation in February, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah,
I
this,
remember that,
yeah, and it kind of got lost, and so we're bringing it back around.
Yes.
And just to clarify, they were given the opportunity to address or change their fiduciary. They just did not respond.
Well, the issue is not their fiduciary, the issue because their fiduciary was a nonprofit, right? In the two other cases, we have fiduciaries. The fiduciary is a nonprofit and the organization's a nonprofit, right? This case, DARS itself, the entity that would be doing the work is a for-profit entity.
And just from knowledge of this for-profit working with a nonprofit through their church, my question was just solely where they were notified that their issue right now is with the for-profit, and they were also given the opportunity to address their fiduciary, saying, hey, you're for-profit, we're working with nonprofits, and you have an experience with a nonprofit, would they be your fiduciary? And I'm just thinking about other organizations. We contacted them and said, hey,
So the issue's still not with the fiduciary, it's with DARS itself. So they can't go get the issue is not finding a new fiduciary, the issue is DARS itself would have to apply and get nonprofit status, which that itself does not happen within the window. So even presented with the opportunity to change their status, that wouldn't be a reasonable expectation one could make of a subrecipient.
Yes, Councilwoman Shelley.
I just like to have things in writing. I would like to have maybe had them come to us. But also, you can be a nonprofit and for-profit.
No.
Oh, yes, you can.
So
Unless
this is,
some
we're
change in the last
specifically
couple of
talking
years.
about tax code?
I'm not talking about them. I'm just saying. Okay. From my understanding and work that I have done, you can be a nonprofit and for-profit.
It would be two separate entities. It would be two separate legal corporations, limited liability companies, or other businesses.
Okay, maybe some things have changed, but anyway, I'm kind of stuck on them being, they have a fiduciary and they're under, I've never heard of that before. The fiduciary is nonprofit and they're under them, but they're not nonprofit.
Yep, so the fiduciary would be the recipient of the funds, and then there'd be another subrecipient that would be DARS, that would be doing the work, and so there would be, it's a similar situation that we have right now with YERN, as well as the NABE. But the difference in those situations is, all the entities engaged are nonprofits. This is the difference. It's not, there's nothing more than one sentence that I could put down on a memo for you. It's really cut and dry. If you wanted to fund a for-profit,
We did not.
then this is, we
That's
can
that.
keep discussing it, but
They're for profit.
Okay. All right.
Councilman Flores.
Thank you, Mayor. Just for clarification, this was the economic development bucket, or?
yeah, this was in the workforce development
Workforce
bucket
development?
that, yourself and Mr. Balls was.
And then how did that organization get into the recommendation for myself and Councilwoman?
We looked at all organizations were included. We at that time were not aware that they were not a nonprofit.
Okay.
So it was, potentially an oversight or just, as we collect more information, we learn things, right? And we bring that to you. so you can make decisions.
So now that's the only one that we have on deck with everybody that you had pointed out that is a for-profit. Now, there's no other issues.
Yep.
Just oversight.
Yep.
Okay, all right, thank you so much.
How much money was that again?
$275,000.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you,
You
Mayor.
wanna say something?
So that money goes back into the funds that were still restricted until the 6 month?
Yep, so
period,
that
or-
would be in that bucket. Yep. So we will review that in September.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Are we ready, Madam Clerk?
Do we have a second?
Are we ready?
You have more discussion, you have.
No.
Any more discussion?
No, there is no more discussion.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay.
I apologize for extending things any longer, but I do have one more motion. I would like to make a motion to have the mayor and staff assemble a work group comprised of 3 council members and the appropriate staff to review council's rules in their totality for over the next 6 months.
Support.
It's been moved to support. Any discussion? Yes.
What was the purpose behind the reevaluation, Mayor Pro Tem?
Well, in my entire time on council, we've never reviewed the entire document as a whole, and I think based on the last handful of meetings, that we probably need to go back in and relearn some things and maybe reassess and see if they're appropriate and if they're covering all the things that we need to have covered. So,
Yes.
Thank you. What things?
well, all of them. That's why I'm asking to discuss the whole thing in total, to have 3 council members sit down with the appropriate staff to go over them and make sure that they are up to date and responsive to.
I think she's talking about, let me clear, maybe she could clarify. We're talking about the order of business and how council is. And so, we haven't looked at that in a long time. I know, I've been on council 10 years and they haven't, and things change. And so we do need to take a look at it. And so that's what the motion was about, yes. Yes.
Thank you, Mayor. Don't we look at that every time someone's elected? Did they look at?
No.
What are we looking at then?
You get told these were the rules from way back. So we haven't updated. It's just looking, do we want to update? That's the question.
Okay, okay.
That's the question.
Because I was gonna say, did they look at them every time somebody's elected?
Mayor, would it benefit the council to do it in 3 different groups so we could all look at the rules?
Pardon me?
Would it benefit council to have it where we have 3 different groups of folks instead of 3 people in total? I would assume, and if I'm incorrect, please correct me, that it would be the mayor pro temp, and then 1 other appointed individual. But I just don't understand how the process would go.
Let me clarify. The mayor is busy. So the mayor won't be on that committee. I mean, the question was, she directed it to me to discuss it. It never was said it had to be the mayor pro tem. It can be 3 members. Okay? Did I hear that right?
You heard that correct. I was inferring that the mayor would be the person who selected those individuals, whether that was the mayor or myself or not. She's busy, so it won't be her. No, I don't think it would be advantageous to do this in groups of 3, simply because we get into a OMA situation, I think, where you have people discussing things between the 3 groups, and that's why we limit it to less than a majority. And the entire council would be able to weigh in, have discussion, vote, make amendments to the recommendations that the core group came up with at the time it was presented. So everyone would decide on this.
You present it at one council meeting, you don't approve it at the same one. You have to bring it to the council, and then it goes over to another one.
Right.
So there could always be changes in between.
Right. But there would be ample time for the entire council to weigh in.
Ample time for review, yes.
Yes.
Yes, Councilman Flores.
Thank you, Mayor. I would motion to include myself in that group.
Oh, God. Y'all have a great night.
You know what?
You too, bud.
Yes, Councilwoman Sylvia.
What, I'm listening at, the proposal, from, I'm sorry. Lord, my brain.
You're fine.
But anyway, what I'm wondering is, in that, why couldn't all council, I like getting things that you get and you get all at the same time. Is it possible to do that same thing with all of council at one time and not violating anything, and let the citizens of Saginaw hear what we're discussing, but do it all at one time? Because one council person may leave out of their group with some, I just like to have everything together. I'm just wondering if that's possible, and let our citizens hear what we're discussing while we're discussing it. I know I was being
I think we so far off right now. I think we're just totally far off of where I need to be trying to go. Yes.
Let me try to bring it back. So, in the past, we had a committee to address human rights issues. And committees are bodies that discuss, and then they bring back proposals to the governing body to make a decision. It's transparency, and that's what we're trying to do. I think that's what Mayor Pro Tem is trying to do. It's just, there's no decision. She's just gonna bring it back to the table, and then what's brought back to when the committee brings it back, you then have the opportunity to review, like the clerk was talking about, and you can amend and change and say you don't like something, and, yeah.
So did I miss?
Hold on.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I would just say, I'm thankful for everyone's comments. I would not want to commit to those three groups because I don't want to even commit to this committee. So if possible, I'm under the impression that once this committee meets, we will have the opportunity to discuss and make changes if we don't agree. And if Mayor Pro Tem, if you can even share, if it's even possible, because after your meeting, sending us just a brief update of what was introduced or what was discussed in those meetings, just so we can have that idea of what is being discussed in those meetings. And then when we come together, we can have a larger conversation in front of the community. It's just, I don't want to be committed to something. If this is a motion with this three thing, I can't commit to that.
And to clarify,
Yes, Councilwoman.
Okay, I must have missed something. I heard three groups.
No,
That's
just
not what you said.
No.
Okay, I'm good. Okay.
There was
I'm
no
good.
second for that.
I'm good. I'm good.
No.
I'd
Now
like to
it's
call the
Liz.
question.
Second.
Thank you.
Call for the question is on the floor. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Nay.
Roll call.
Councilmember Flores,
Nay.
Councilmember Copeland,
Yes.
Councilmember Sylvia,
Yeah, yes.
Councilmember Wiggott absent, Councilmember Balls is absent, Mayor Pro Tem Bench,
Yes.
Councilmember Ostache,
Yes.
Councilmember Garcia,
Yes.
Mayor Moore.
Yes.
6 yes and 1 no. Your
Let's
motion
call
is
for the question. No more discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay.
What motion?
Madam Clerk. Did somebody have something they were saying?
He's lost on the motion. He just needs to know what motion.
Mayor, didn't we do a roll call vote for that motion?
You voted on call to question.
Okay.
Now you're voting on the main
That
motion.
was the motion you voted for.
And then there was a motion on, point of information, there was a motion on the floor for me to be in that,
There was no second.
but there was no chance for a second. There was discussion without any recommend.
There was no second. The mayor
Yeah.
did not get a second.
Point of information, that's the whole reason that they're making the committee in the first place, is that there's some disorder. For me to make a motion and then for somebody to have discussion on top of that seems ironic
Not
at
for a
best.
second.
Excuse me.
Point of order.
Excuse me.
There was no second to your motion, sir?
Because of the reasons.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
We still have.
It's always in order.
Out of,
I think you have a roll call vote you have to take.
Excuse me.
Are still on, we have a motion on the motion.
You voted no.
You
You
guys are
voted no.
You have You
Okay,
have the main
Madam
motion.
Clerk.
No, you voted on to call the
She said
question.
that we had a no vote. Do we need to do a roll call vote?
Her motion
What
is
did I
still on.
miss?
Clerk, they voted, the roll call vote was on call to question, is that correct?
Yes.
So now they have the main motion that
Right.
they've been
Right.
discussing.
I did not hear a no.
Okay, so you voted on that. We wanted to make sure, because,
Right. Now you have a motion to adjourn before you.
And it's been moved to second.
Point of order.
No.
It definitely can be a point of order because you can't just make a motion to adjourn.
Yes, you
when
can.
we're
A
having
motion to adjourn
discussion.
is always in order.
When you're having a discussion,
It was,
oh, well, we need to really look at some stuff then, because that don't make sense. If we're having a discussion, someone can, make a motion to adjourn
point
right
of
in the middle
order.
of the discussion.
Point of order. Point of order.
Can't be a point of order, it was a motion
A
on the floor
motion
to
on the
adjourn.
floor to
Come on
adjourn.
now,
It's been moved
Make
to
it make
second.
sense.
Excuse me.
I said, make it make sense, it makes no sense. Because you just did what I just did.
She's out of order, just rule her out of order.
I'm not out of order.
Yes, you are. We have a
No,
motion
you
and a
are.
second on the table.
Okay, let's go.
All those in favor
Let's
signify
go.
by
I'm
saying
done.
aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Good night, everyone.